The motion is to resume consideration of the budget of the Department of Public Works and Highways and recognize the sponsor, Senator Lord. Regarding any objection, there being none, the motion is approved. Senator Lacson is recognized to continue interpellation.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the permission of the distinguished sponsor, let me resume my interpellation on the budget, 2019 budget of the DPWH. I'd like to begin by discussing the 75 billion adjustments made by the DBM on the DPWH budget in the NEP by stating that it can be traced, and in fact easily. How? The UWACS, Mr. President. The UWACS is the Unified Accounts Code structure which DBM still has in their possession or in their files as part and parcel of the NEP upon submission by the President to the House of Representatives. For some reason, the House has always removed the UWACS in the GAB. What I will present to this body is a forensic attempt on our part to reconstruct that 75 billion peso adjustment, albeit in its present form under the GAB 2, yung na-transmit sa atin. Majority Leader Andaya himself, House Majority Leader Andaya himself said that much. They knew that many of his colleagues in the House formerly aligned with the former Speaker, Bebot Alvarez, including some senators, these are his words, not mine, were the proponents of the 75 billion adjustment made by DBM, as allegedly admitted to him by Undersecretary Tina Kanda of the DBM. Thus, when they took over the leadership last July, they disregarded the budget's approval on second reading, formed a small group committee, and mangled beyond recognition the 75 billion. Thus, here is the reconstruction of at least a big chunk of the now infamous 75 billion peso adjustment or insertion or any name we may want to call it. Next slide, please. From the House of Representatives, 56.774 billion pesos, merong 51.792 billion, ito yung from the DPWH budget. And as alleged by House Majority Leader Andaya, part ito ng 75 billion peso adjustment made in the NEP by the DBM. As claimed by the Speaker herself, 20 billion was distributed equally among 297 congressmen at 60 million pesos per congressman. Yan ang allocation ng bagong leadership. So naiwan dyan, 31.792 billion. Ito yung allocated to the different agencies. Yan. Ayan yung mga items na lumabas. Local Government Support Fund, NDRMF, no problem. May naiwang 7 billion sa DPWH. May napunta sa DOH. Of course, farm-to-market road projects, COA, DSWD, siguro wala namang problema doon sa iba. Now, what's interesting to note, Mr. President, yung farm-to-market roads, may mga naglobohan doon sa mga iba't ibang distrito, as will be shown in the next slide. In the 2nd Legislative District of Pampanga, from 5 farm-to-market road projects in the NEP, naging 69, amounting to 500 million pesos. Nagkaroon din sa Camarines Sur ng mga projects from an initial, I think, 367 million under the NEP na naipasa on second reading ng GAB under the previous leadership, naging 1.9 billion. In Bohol, lumaki rin masyado yung sa Bohol, and in Surigao, ganun din po ang lumaki. Ito mga random sampling lang kung saan umusbong yung pinanggalingan o yung nanggaling doon sa 31.7 na originally nasa 51.7. Dahil yung 20 billion nga napunta or divided equally among the several of the a number of congressmen in the 17th Congress. Now, more or less we have decided and we have agreed, we have a consensus that yung 75 billion will be excised from the budget of the DPWH. Not everything, because I would like to propose something, because we took this up during the committee hearing of the Department of Public Works and Highways, yung Bliss Project. Bliss Project, ito po yung Baguio, La Trinidad, Itogon, Sablan, Tublay. Maganda pong project ito. In fact, my staff, members of my staff were able to talk to the people there. Yung mga farm produce, talagang nadadala nila talaga ng sariwa at pinagkakakitaan nila. The problem is, for lack of planning or proper planning, ang daming landslides because they did not, I don't think they consulted with the MGB, no, before they constructed the circumferential road. In fact, hindi passable yan because so many areas talagang bagsak ng bagsak, as we will show you, no. Wala halos magamit dito, and Congressman Cosalan came to my office pleading that we do not delete, because at the time, I told, during the committee hearing, I told the DPWH family that I would delete the 590 million pesos for road construction sa this is a multi-year project, Mr. President. Meron 590 for 219. Meron na nagastos dito 400 million and another for 800 million. So yung 590, I threatened to have it deleted simply because hindi ready yung project for road construction. And kailangan munang ayusin yung slope protection. When we asked the official from the Cordillera, from the CAR, ng DPWH, ang sabi ko, bakit gumuho ito? Ba't nagkaroon ng mga maraming landslides? Ang sagot niya, when we inspected, it was solid rock. When we constructed, it was not solid rock. So apparently, when we inspected, it was solid rock. So they constructed. When they constructed, it was not solid rock anymore. Hence, the landslides in the different parts of the circumferential road. Now, I still maintain the position that 590 million pesos for the 2019 budget for road construction should be withheld and not released. But I'm proposing, with the permission of our colleagues, that part of the 75 billion be reallocated to DPWH for slope protection. I would just like to find out from them how much would they need, at least for 2019, to conduct slope protection in the Bliss project. Hindi naman kaya ng isang taon ito. Of course, you will have to coordinate with MGB pa, hindi ba? Nasaan ba yung sponsor? Ay, opo. Ay, happy birthday, attorney. Okay. So how much would...
Mr. President, I was listening.
how much would
yes.
DPWH need for slope protection para lang maituloy yung project? Because this is a very good project. This benefits a lot of people in the Baguio, Itogon, La Trinidad area.
How much is your slope protection?
At least for 2019. So we can set aside part of the 75 billion for slope protection.
Mr. President, thank you for that question. Out of the 9 billion plus total cost of the Bliss circumferential road, the amount of 6 billion is needed for slope protection and cliffside protection with approximate length of 36 kilometers, ranging with a height of 10 meters, more or less.
How many square meters will be covered by the slope protection?
36
Because
kilometers.
hindi po linear meter ang usapan dito.
360,000 square meters. 3,600 or 360,000? 360,000 square meters or
Pakita mo nga yung ano,
square
yung
meters?
slide na
300,
ilalim.
no, are you sure? Okay, you compute it for me. 360,000 square meters? Okay.
How do you compute ba? How
They
much
say
would
it's
it cost?
36 kilometers times 10,000. 10,000. Why 10,000?
Ang height. Yeah.
Teka ha. It's 36,000 times 10. So it's 360,000 what? Square meters.
At how much per square meter?
At how much per square meter? 20 million per square meter. Is that
No, 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 no. No,
No. Ay, nako.
makukulong
Sorry.
tayo niyan pag 20 million
20.
square meter.
Okay, and again. 20,000 per square meter. Okay.
In
So,
the
360,000.
in the Karanglan, Nueva Ecija, remember 2 years ago, I also interpellated. And yung 100-meter road na merong slope protection, ang na-cover yata was how many square meters? 44,000 square meters. Lumalabas sa computation, medyo mahal yung per square meter na slope protection. Now, I'm surprised that it's only 20,000.
How much was it then?
Parang 40 plus eh.
Oh, what's the
So, we asked some civil engineers, in fact, mga,
What's the
mga
usual?
naman,
Yeah.
28 daw.
Oh, so 20 mura.
28, yeah, mura yung 20.
They
Baka
learned
namang
their lesson
guguhudin yan.
from 2 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, kung 20,000 per square meter, so 360,000 times 20,000. Can you accomplish that in 1 year? Yung slope protection, hindi kaya eh.
No.
So siguro ang pondohan lang muna natin for 2019.
There's already funds for 2019. Oo. There's already funds for 2019.
No, 590 is for road construction.
No, for slope protection, wala?
Ang slope protection parang 5 million lang.
They're suggesting that the provision for road be used for the slope protection. That's all they can do for the year. They can't do the whole 36 kilometers for 1 year.
Yeah, we understand, Your Honor. Just to underscore, the point that I'm trying to state here. Tingnan po ninyo ang nangyari dito sa isang segment ng road, just sa Bliss area. Nahukay na yung ilalim, and it will endanger the lives of people, motorists, as a matter of fact. Imagine, there's a road that now looks like a bridge. But that's a concrete road. Because there's no preparation, there's no slope protection. And since as I said earlier, this is a very good project that should be continued, but should be done properly.
Yes, Mr. President.
So magkano po yung kailangan talaga for slope protection, at
Well,
least for 2019?
there's 590
Tama na yon.
for the road,
Yeah, for the road.
not provided yung slope pa. But they can change it or use part of the 590 for the slope and the road. And they will just request or put it in their NEP 2020 for the balance. Because it's
Yes,
cash-based, baka hindi na nila, masayang lang eh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you done your coordination with the MGB? But how did you come up with the 360?
With the MGB. They are coordinating, they have coordinated with the Mines and Geosciences Bureau, and that should not be just for this road, but for
For
all
all.
roads.
Yeah.
An EIA and coordination with the MGB is SOP, should be SOP.
So yung area to be covered, nanggaling na sa MGB yon? Kasi manggagaling dapat sa MGB yon. Sila nakakaalam ng hazards eh. How did you
Is
come
the
up with
36 kilometers slope
times 10,000?
coordinated with MGB? Did the information come
Hindi
from?
pwedeng hula-hula. Hindi pwedeng visual. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng area dito kailangan ng slope protection. There are areas na may hazards.
The whole 36 kilometers was internal because DPWH already has their own geologists. But I advised them, and they should do it, and they said they will vet it and coordinate with the Mines and Geosciences. In fact, may we request
It's in the
Senator
law,
Lacson
Mr. President.
to craft, along with our office, make it general, a special provision of the.
There's already a
that
special
all
provision on
road
that.
Ligay ko na yan eh.
There
road-
is.
That's DRR eh. All constructions must be in coordination with the MGB of the DNR, di ba? That's part of
No,
resilience.
there's already a provision
Meron na yan, parang
under the GA.
I always put that eh.
Ang problema, hindi nga nasusunod. Ayan, andito yung general provision.
Meron na nga. Meron na. So they're aware of, there's a general provision and they're aware of it.
Section
Hindi lang daw nasusunod dahil kulang daw ng tao
Section
ang
26.
MGB. Di mag-hire ng tao. Di ba? Yeah. Yun na nga, Mr. President, talaga ang nangyayari, ang ganda-ganda ng ating GAA. Kasi lahat ng ating dinedebate, linalagay naman natin. At alam natin ang solusyon sa mga problema. Sa implementation, Mr. President, gaya ng pinapakita nyo, Ginoong Lacson, na sa implementasyon talaga on the ground nagkakaproblema. Dahil hindi naman kasalanan nila, kulang ng tao MGB, o hindi na pondohan ng buo yung slope, o yung implementor, hindi maayos ang gawa. And this is all over the country, and not just this agency. So really, the challenge is to make sure that the taxpayers' money in the GAA is utilized well. So all the general provisions you can think of are already there. The oversight function of Congress is so important. And I'm grateful to Senator Lacson for doing this all and micromanaging and be eagle's eye. And I wish you could do this in every department because you're helping me in my job.
Sa ibang department kasi walang kailangan slow protection, Mr. President.
No, not just slope protection, but all other, I would
Yeah.
like you to do it in, let's say, in
Levity
national.
aside, Mr. President, we will do that in the next...
I would like you to, let's say, look at the NGP of the National Greening of the DNR. It would be good to look at the FMRs of the DA. Ang dami yan eh.
Now, the figures to be submitted are important because we'll be submitting our amendments to the Mother Committee.
We've been
Ang
waiting for your
deadline-
amendments.
Because hindi pa nga tapos yung interpellation, Mr. President. That's the reason why we have not submitted our amendments. Because as you
Attorney
know,
Tablon is turning 60 today, has turned 60. Her request is for the amendments to be submitted by
as you know,
today.
Mr. President, wala naman akong individual amendments lagi. My amendments are always institutional.
Pareho naman tayo
Opo,
eh.
alam ko po yun.
Yan
So, pwede na po nating iwanan to. We'll just await the submission of DPWH. You can actually submit directly to Attorney Dublon.
The submission you're requesting for
But it should be science-based,
is how much they need
Yes.
for slow protection.
at least for 2019.
They already said, ang kaya lang nilang magamit ay yung 590.
No, that's for road construction.
Which we will change the wording to include slope protection for the portion they will do the road. No? Oo, yun lang, ang kaya nila.
So, hindi na kailangang matutuwa si Senator Dillon pag hindi na nagalaw yung 75 billion kasi pupunta sa health yun.
Yeah, kasi
hindi na
ayaw
kailangan.
naman natin
Sige.
silang bigyan ng masyadong malaki na hindi naman nila kayang gawin lahat. Oo.
All right.
Tapos ilagay
Your
mo lang
Honor,
doon sa
before you leave the
2025.
subject matter, I'm just curious. When they expected, you said it was hard rock,
Solid rock. Yeah.
solid rock. And then
When
when
they
they
constructed,
constructed, it was no longer solid rock. What happened?
It only means na walang science-based study. Parang wido-wido, siguro tinadyakan, matigas, solid rock. Nung nag-construction, nag-loosen yung soil, hindi na solid rock. And may namatay na rito, Mr. President. Nahulog sa ravine. I think 9 people died, including a child. One... in fact, yung mismong DPWH, meron silang SAR experience, some of their employees, the same area, di ba? Itogon area. Kasi na-landslide namatayan sila ng tao. So, I think that, you know, bitter lesson as it is, dapat tingnan natin yung mga
thank you.
future construction.
Mr. President, I'll give you a copy of a November 2018 memo reiterating the high hazard areas, no build zones, and all the presidential decrees, just for safety, and all the hazard areas which you are referring to.
Indeed, that is a very important area. As a matter of fact, I attended a hearing by Senator Gordon
Yeah.
for the Blist Development Authority creation, precisely the area that Senator Lacson has mentioned. Anyway, for the record. So would you like to continue?
Yes,
Your
Mr.
Honor?
President. Just para lang masabing hindi ito isolated case, ito, news po ito ng GMA7, sa Albay naman ito. Ayan. Bagyong Osman, gumuho
sa
din.
mga area sa Bicol region na naapektuhan ng pagguho. Dati na po bang determined na landslide-prone area itong mga tinamaan ng pagguho?
If you will observe po, karamihan po ng mga nangyaring landslides ay doon po sa may mga road openings eh. Like ito po sa may Osiyaw, sa may Sorsogon City, may ginagawa po kalsada. And sa baba po niyan is dagat. The same thing din po dito sa Tiwi Albay. Bundok po yan, nagkaroon ng road cut, ang nasa baba niya po ay dagat. And that road network, tuloy-tuloy po yan, patungo dun sa Sangay. Yun na nga po yung barangay Patentian ng Sangay. Nandun din po yung marami na nagkaroon ng mga landslides po.
So na-compromise po itong mga lugar na ito dahil dun sa cut, dun sa bundok, dahil sa ginagawang kalsada, ganun po yung sinasabi nyo?
Well, ganun po. Ang rating po ng NGB sa mga road cuts na yan is very high at susceptibility to landslides.
Ma-discuss lang po natin yung sa road cut kasi construction po ito.
Yes,
Hindi pa natatapos, so I would assume hindi pa nakalagay yung mga riprap na magpoprotekta dapat or mag-stabilize nung gilid ng bundok. So ano po pwedeng gawin kaya rito?
Kung we will choose safety po, i-insist natin na yung road cut ay gagawin very safe
Opo.
na hindi na siya babagsak. And therefore, ang bibilhing road right of way sa mga private lands ng gobyerno ay mas malaki. So yun po, malalaki.
Now, ang next topic po, Mr. President, is yung Sariaya. May I, just for the record, ano na po yung status? Because this was suspended in March of 2017 ba? Because of right-of-way issues. Sariaya Bypass Road. I would just like to find out the status. Matagal na po ito, 2015? Ha? 15? No, 2014 nag-start. This project was started in 2014, suspended in 2016.
Now, resume.
Nag-resume,
The project has resumed?
yes. Ang target completion date ito, December 31, 2018. That's the reason why I'm asking, anong status?
Kailan na ang bagong timeline? October of this year, Mr. President, that's a new target,
October this year.
October this year.
Paano yung mga right-of-way claimants? Marami ito, ha? And that's the main reason for the delay and the suspension, because they have not been paid. By the way, I'd like to thank the Regional Director of 4A for acting with dispatch. After last Monday's deliberation, he met with the group of kababayan ni Senator Recto, and at least they found a middle ground. They agreed. Meron yung isa na mababayaran na on Friday, hindi po ba? Yung nasa gitna ng kalsada yung 5.
Yung Sariaya.
So, yung Sariaya, paano?
Claimants, only 17 have submitted their folders and only one's not paid.
There are 175 claimants. There's documentary problem again, and out of 175 claimants, Mr. President, only 17 have complied with the submission. So that means it's a long process yet in the road.
Mr. President, as what we discovered last Monday, no, doon sa confrontation, minsan nagkakaturuan. Sabi ninyo, isabit ninyo yung mga dokumentong ganito. Sabi naman ng mga tao, nasabit na ho namin ng 2017 yan. So sometimes doon nag-uugat yung problema. Mukhang walang coordination yung district with the region.
They submitted, but the documents are lacking because, for example, the title is of their grandparents.
Hindi hindi
But
nalipat.
the claimants are
Different.
the Apo
Hindi kasi nalipat.
and they
Okay.
don't have the
Yes.
My point, Mr. President,
The issues are legal. It's very common in the Philippines. Ang titulo nasa lolo pa, ang claimant o nakatira doon ay apo, hindi pa nailipat yung titulo. So, wala naman silang special power. Extrajudicial settlement, hindi pa naayos. Usual.
Mr. President, may we plead with DPWH just to walk an extra mile para turuan yung mga tao kasi mga, alam nyo, hindi
Correct.
naman minsan
No, we
nakakaintindi yung mga
really
yun.
have to capacitate
Yes.
them how to deal with this.
We extend our lawyering by in terms of
Please.
Dapat libre na ang abogado, shepherd the process. Yeah. There's going to be a legal division per region. Wala dati. To assess or to assist, to help them.
Alam niyo, after discussing the right-of-way issues, our office was swarmed by so many claimants, mga
Naniningil.
nagko-complain. Well, I don't want to transform my office into a collection agency, But a case in point, I think this is in Taguig, 40 million, NCR. Sa C6 pala, not Taguig. 40 million, they checked with DBM, na-release na yung 40 million pesos.
Pero hindi pa nila natanggap.
Wala naman siya natatanggap.
No,
Anong
na-release
gagawin
sa
natin?
ahensya, sa department.
Yeah, yung deed of absolute sale, ready for signature. No? And there's another one, Cotabato, parang nabanggit pa sa amin, pangit na nga lang pakinggan, naglagay pa raw siya.
Kanino?
Huwag na lang natin
Hindi,
sabihin.
anong
Mr.
ahensya?
President. Well, never mind, Mr. President. Basta yun yung plight ng mga tao. That's what I'm trying to point
Para lang
out.
sila mabayaran sa lupang
Yes, because
kinatatayuan
40
nila.
million is 40 million. Nakatanggap ba ng 10 daw? Wala pa, sir. 10 lang kami bibigay sa kanila. Ang sinabi, 10 lang ang pwedeng ibigay. Ano po ba yung regulasyon dito? Di ba at least 50% kailangan maibigay? Kasi may pondo naman po for 2018, we have 20 billion pesos only for ROW. For 2019, meron tayong 28.9 billion pesos. Again,
Yes. Mr. President, all the details that are lodged in your office, can you kindly
yes,
submit it
that's the
to
intention.
the office of Secretary Villar, and he will expedite the processing, and the legal division of the regions will shepherd the process, help them comply,
Yeah.
especially when there are extrajudicial settlements that need to be addressed.
Yeah, and I trust that Secretary Villar will act on this. No? Kasi minsan, hindi naman nakakarating talaga rin sa kanya. Sa regions lang umaabot. But, yun ang problema. In the meantime, people are suffering. So as they come, we'll just forward it to the office of the Secretary para na lang malinaw. Okay, so much for that issue. I have a couple of case studies more to show, pero the narrative is the same. Papakita ko na lang yung Cagayan de Oro, just to show na, alam nyo, we took time to really go to these places just to satisfy myself na nung na-restore natin yung 50.8 billion budget for 2018, totoo lahat yung napag-usapan natin, na-settle yung ROW. So, ito yung Cagayan de Oro po. May bahay din sa gitna ng kalsada. Ayun. Makita nyo po yung bahay sa gitna ng kalsada. Minsan po natatawa kami, pero pag nag-iisa na ako, naiinis na ako. Look, how can you pass through that road na mayroong isang bahay na nakatayo doon? Only because hindi settled yung ROW, contrary to what you committed when we met, that these are all implementable projects because the right-of-way issues have been settled or ready to be settled within the year. But it's already 2019. Kinunan po ito, January. Ayan, take a look at the video. Ayan. May bahay, naputol dahil may bahay. Hindi pa ma-aksidente po yung, kung di ba mamatay yung sa loob ng bahay, yung nasa kotse ang mamamatay. Cagayan de Oro. This is exactly my point, Mr. President. No? Yeah, the same. Kaya sabi ko, the narrative is the same, but these are different places. No? The last case study, yung sa Bukidnon, I'm sorry, Majority Leader, pero ito po yung sa Bukidnon. Meron din, ganyan din, mga IPs na hindi nasa-settle, look. And yung mga tao po rito, wala naman silang means, hindi alam mag-process eh. Hindi ba pwedeng tulungan na lang natin na ganito po ang gawin nyo para kayo mabayaran kaagad? Ayan, Mr. Enriquez, there are names eh. And look at the project, dirt road. And after this topic, I'll show you the physical accomplishments of the projects listed, that we listed to be deleted muna sana yung budget kasi hindi implementable. But we relented nga because of the appeal to your office by the DPWH na kaya nilang implement ito. So, ayan, there are names, no? Baka pwedeng ma-call yung attention ng Region 10 Regional Director to attend to these people. No? Huwag na yung tao yung pupunta sa regional office kasi ang lalayo ng lugar, oh. I hope this, you know, we treat this as an eye-opener to really serve the people, ano? Especially yung, tingnan nyo, yung Nora Talara. Hindi naman, wala nga, yung iba nga, pamasahihan daw namin, pupunta dito eh. Eh ano naman, papamasahin namin doon sa mga tao. Ang lalayo. Ayan, yung bahay na yan, tatamaan ng kalsada yan eh. Hindi ba, ayaw malis. Kasi pag kumanan, tumbok yung bahay. Because the right-of-way issue has not been settled. And this, I think this happens all over the Philippines, hindi lamang po sa Cagayan de Oro, sa Bukidnon. Now, policy issue, how do we solve this problem?
You know, Mr. President, with the permission of the two gentlemen, you know, as I was listening to Senator Lacson, I supervised in Region 6, and you can ask your people in Region 6, a building of a 15-kilometer four-lane highway. We met so many of this. What is important is that you pay attention to the house owners, tutukan lang may mga problema. You just have to assign somebody who will do nothing except to resolve all of this. I tell you, this is not unusual. I was on the ground helping DPWH in resolving all of these right-of-way problems, and it's there. You can see it for yourself, and you can ask former Director Ed Tayao on how many right-of-way issues we had to solve in building a 15-kilometer four-lane highway back home. So, to me, if the bureaucracy will pay attention and will devote time, they can do it, including forcing the landowner to obey by going to court and depositing the amount involved, just so you can proceed with the construction. So it can be done, Mr. President.
Mr. President, let me also share our experience. Since I was a congressman, and I'm sure many of us here have passed through the Star Highway. Nung araw, hindi toll road yan. That was a national road. It took us 40 kilometers from Santo Tomas to Batangas City, almost 13 to 14 years to finish. Nag-umpisa yung project yan, congressman pa lang ako. Wala pang pera ang gobyerno, pakuanti-kuanti pa lang nun. Pagbili ng right-of-way, gawa ang kalsada. Hanggang ngayon, natapos na rin yung kalsada. But it took us 14 years. Yung Star Highway in Santo Tomas to Batangas City. No? But can you imagine kung wala yung kalsadang yan? Eh talagang grabe na ang traffic sa buong lalawigan ng Batangas.
It's my favorite highway.
That's right. Because every weekend you pass through that.
There is no speed limit.
There is no speed limit. It's when you play golf in Malaraya, there is no speed limit. Just like when you drive. Mr. President. So, the policy issue, what can be done? We have been reviewing the law. Number one, the biggest issue is ownership. Karamihan sa atin, walang titulo ng lupa. So, yun number one. Okay. So, what maybe we can do is, kung tax declaration lang ipapel mo, the law says 30 years. Maybe we can decide once and for all kung 5 years lang.
Yeah.
Bawasan natin yung threshold. Imbes na 30 years, kung 5 taon ka na dyan nakatirik yung bahay mo, may tax declaration ka, wala namang ibang claimant, kilalanin na natin sa pagbabayad ng right-of-way. Isa yan siguro. With regard to valuation, kung ano ang zonal valuation, schedule of market, or the schedule of market value, whichever is higher, times 2, yun ang ibayad na natin sa tao. Para mas mataas ang presyo. Total naman yung pera niya, hindi lalabas eh. Hindi naman pupunta sa Switzerland yan. Iikot lang yan within the local community. And this issue has not been addressed in any medium-term Philippine development plan. So, I suppose now is the time to amend the laws on the right-of-way again and improve it to make it easier for government to purchase the right-of-way, especially now that the national government has more resources to undertake important infrastructure projects. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
In the meantime, baka pwede maging flexible na muna yung DPWH and other agencies na stretch yung limit ng law basta't walang iba-violate. No? Sabi ko, walks the extra mile. Bakit nga nagawa ni Senator De Leon sa Iloilo? Nandito naman siya, hindi naman siya nakakulong.
Mr. President, yung improvements, palagay ko, hindi masyado mahirap, valuation lang. Halimbawa, may bahay sa gitna ng kalsada. They cannot prove the ownership. Pero yung improvements nandun. Yung madaling i-value yun, pwede mong bayaran yun. Ang problema lang talaga ay yung lupa. Based on my experience, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we made our point, so we leave this topic. Now, we request the DPWH to submit to us the physical accomplishments, yung mga items, yung mga projects na we sought to be deleted sana, but pinrestore namin dahil sabi nila yung right-of-way, maayos nila. So, here's the list. Submission po nila ito. Look, 60 lines or line items under the 2018 GAA with less than 1% accomplishment. How would you explain this, Mr. President? Madam Sponsor. 60 line items. Among those na na-discuss natin in your office last year, na sabi nila, implementable. Now, 60 line items, less than 1% ang physical accomplishment.
But these are all the low accomplishment.
Yeah, there are some, but there's also some, I'm just saying, there are some.
Admittedly, Mr. President, there are those with low physical accomplishment, but there are also those which are on time and those which are ahead. And so they realize that those with low accomplishment have to be sped up, have to be worked on. And there's a list here of all the challenges pertaining to the low accomplishment projects. But to be fair, there are projects which are on time and projects which are ahead of schedule. But yes, there are indeed projects with low physical accomplishment, and they know the challenges and it's being addressed. It's probably row issues also.
So, yeah, probably. For example, construction, bypass road, Marikina River Bank to JP Rizal Street, Marikina City, 0.0. Construction of slow protection, so and so. Rojas Bypass Road, including right-of-way, Isabela, 0.68%.
Not all projects have 1 year time frame.
It's multi-year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. President,
Yeah, multi-year, but 0.68% for 1 year, Mr. President.
1%. So, I mean, I'm just saying.
the target is 1%, but I cannot see. It's a multi-year project, and the target is an X percentage, it's not 100% because it's multi-year. So if the accomplishment is only point something, 0.5, is because the target is only a portion of the multi-year project.
No, Mr. President.
Plan.
Plan, ito yung physical accomplishments, plan
0.8
against
of the
actual.
35.
For example, yung bypass road Marikina Riverbank to JP Rizal, 20.34%
Yes.
ang planned, meaning ito yung target. Accomplishment actual, 0.
Oo, oo.
Yung,
Oo. Mr. President, yes, meron 0%, admittedly, ang Plan 20. But to be fair, meron pong 0.68% ang 0.80 ang plan. So, konti lang po ang kakulangan nun. Slippage ba tawag doon? Or 0.50 of the 1.07. So, meron pong mabagal, may challenges, meron namang on time, at merong konti lang ang huli.
yun nga malungkot, Mr. President. Ano? For example, yung binasa ko kanina sa Region 2, Rojas Bypass Road, including right of Isabela, ang target na nga lang, yung plan, 0.8%. Ang kanyang accomplishment, 0.68, hindi pa umabot ng 0.8. 0.8 na nga lang yung kanyang target, nagtipid pa, naging 0.68 pa. Itong isa, Region 3, Daang Maharlika, kilometer so and so, ang planned or target 1.07%, actual 0.5%.
Mr. President, alam natin yung problema na nasa construction ang pamilya ng ating sekretaryo. Kinukwento ko nga kay Engineer Cabral, dirty kitchen lang nagpagawa ako, renovation sa bahay ko. 6 to 8 months ang delay ng isang dirty kitchen.
Mr. President.
Hindi ko nga alam bakit ganun tayo mga Pilipino eh. Oo.
So tama pala yung move ko noon na i-delete na muna sana. Kasi unused ito. These are unused funds of the DPWH.
So perhaps, Mr.
Because I
President,
raised that issue dahil merong special provision na no road construction shall commence unless masettle yung right of way. And nung makakita ko ng mga items na including right of way, ibig sabihin simultaneous. So hindi settled yung right of way, popondon mo yung kalsada, hindi matatapos.
tama kayo. Kaya ang aking rekomendasyon, Mr. President, ay suriin po ninyo yung ganyan para next year hindi tayo magsisihan ng muli na pinondohan na sayang. Kasi maraming augmentation sa budget na dapat natin paghanapan. Gaya ng HFEP, gaya ng DSWD, SLP na mga service workers na mawawalan trabaho. You help me, and I'm sure they would not mind if it cannot be accomplished and it's a cash-based budget, let's put it where it can be used.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because alam nyo yung nakakita kami ng items ngayon for 2019, nawala na lahat yung including right of way. Not because the right of way issues have been resolved, but because they're trying to hide the problem. Pinalitan po yung special provision. Hindi na kailangang masettle muna yung right of way. So are we solving the problem or we're just hiding the problem? Look, sa 2019 GAA, sa 2018 GAA, nakalagay dito, in the implementation of infrastructure projects, the DPWH shall ensure that all ROW expenses authorized under RA so-and-so are settled before the commencement of projects. Under the 2019 GAA, iniba na po yung language. Sinabi niya, the amount of 29 billion for something appropriate shall be used exclusively for authorized. Nawala na yung provision na dapat isettle muna. Kaya nagkawala lahat yung projects na including right of way para hindi na namin makita. So at the proper time, Mr. President, I'd like to amend that provision in the 2019 proposed budget, ibalik na doon sa dati ng Section 12 of the GAA 2018. Iniba nga, nawala na nga yung including right of way eh. So we're not solving the problem, but we're hiding it. No, ibalik na lang po natin sa
Sa GAA 2018.
2018
No,
yung
because in
provision.
GAA 2018, I followed this, the special provision of GAA 2018 was our traffic version of existing. Bakit nag-iba sa 2019?
Gab pa lang yan. Kaya nga ibabalik natin. No? Marami po pa itong listahan ng mga items, ng mga projects na talagang mabababa yung physical accomplishment. Ayan po. Para hindi na rin tayo magtagal kasi ganun din. Yung sa Lawag, imagine 1 week after matapos yung tulay, nagiba. Oh, yan nga, oh. Yun, sikat ha. Anyway, naayos na rin ito kasi ni-repair na rin nila. At no cost to the government, at no additional cost to the government, I hope. No? Ano na ba yan? Blacklisted na ba yan? Di ba dapat blacklisted na? Kung ganyan ang track record. Diba, kung ikaw ang gagawa ng tulay at 1 week after maguguho, hindi dapat, huwag nang bigyan ng kontrata yan. Marami po pong issues dito pero Mr. President, hindi nyo naman ako iniintindi. Tsaka I don't want to hold any longer the DPWH. Sana ang bilin lang, sana asikusuhin nyo naman yung mga, hindi ba lang yung mga may pera na claimants, pero yung mga talagang isipin nyo. Please na lang, yun na lang ang appeal. Hindi ako pinapansin eh. Anyway.
Well, according to her, she is listening.
Multitasking.
Can we have the assurance of the DPWH?
1 week suspension, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
Hindi na. Yeah. Hindi. Itong question na, how much, para on the record, no? How much of the 2018 appropriations for ROW,
Wait, the
Mr. President.
session is suspended.
ah,
Session is resumed. Senator Lacson.
there was a suggestion na ikat daw yung 2019 ROW budget. Sabi ko, di lalong di nakabayad ng ROW. Now, we want to find out how much of the 2018 ROW appropriations ang naiwanan pa
Okay, you've 7B.
na unutilized para magamit
28 allocated.
for 2019.
Yeah. Okay, released to the beneficiaries, to the claimants, and you've 7B. There's a 7B, 7 billion balance which can be used till 2019 December.
So is DPWH amenable to your suggestion to cut the 28 plus billion pesos appropriations for ROW in 2019? Baka hindi sila makasettle, Mr. President. Yung historical data na pero nakamagkano since 2015 lang. Ang total so far.
Mr. President, yes, they agree since the 2018 budget has been extended and it's already January, we will enact the budget by February, by the time it's downloaded, March, April, halos ban. Kalahating taon na yan, June na eh. Hindi ho magagamit yung buong row. Kaya maari tayong magputol up to the 7 billion, ang tingin ko hanggang kalahati. Agree si Senator
Yeah,
Villar.
we can just discuss it anyway. We're proceeding to the period of amendments. We can just discuss it.
Tinitanggalin yung 8. We'll see, no? We'll work together with the department so that the claimants also are not affected, but see what can be used and what cannot be obligated.
This issue or this concern was raised by Senator Drilon earlier, ano? Yung mga flood control, yung flood management, katakot-takot na pera to, and we're trying to have historical data. Para tayo nagtatapon ng pera kasi nga, ito yung dredging eh. Flood control and drainage system. Eh alam naman po natin dito kung saan napupunta ito eh. Baka pwedeng i-revisit natin ito at bawasan din natin yung katakot-takot na flood control, flood management, drainage.
How much is flood control?
Ang dami pang nomenclature. Pare-pareho na ibig sabihin.
Senator Drilon?
With the permission of Senator Lacson, would the DPWH be amenable to having a deliberate policy of acquiring dredging machines rather than contracting out dredging on a yearly basis? And I am speaking out of experience. You have your regional director here in Region 6. The project of dredging rivers is the most lucrative because nobody measures the number of cubic meters that you dredge. In my home city, and this is on the record, 15 kilometers or 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers of river being dredged. How much it will cost on an annual basis every time it is dredged? 150 million. What did we do? We bought 2 dredging machines costing 37 million and a half for each machine. So if you go there to Iloilo River today, DPWH has 2 dredging machines dredging 24/7. This to me is an example of something, of a method by which we can be more efficient. May I request that the previous secretary, Secretary Singson, was already starting with this program of purchasing dredging machines rather than contracting out dredging, because it's a source of corruption. We hope that the DPWH can consider this policy.
Senator Villar is recognized.
Mr. President, that is already a policy of the DPWH. In fact, they already have purchased their own, they're purchasing, 2019 pa lang, they're purchasing their own, their own dredging machines. And every year, so you've purchased already. They already have their dredging machines, engines, what do you call it, equipment. And they're already doing it internally. Not to, but then,
Pero bakit katakot-takot pa rin yung projects ng dredging?
ano yun? Wait, sandali. The dredging you're referring to is in the NEP or the GAB?
Well, we're talking of the NEP and the GAB.
May maraming
2019 NEP,
dredging.
2019 GAB.
Are those your projects or?
Flood Management Services Program. 114 billion pesos in the NEP.
Mr. President, In the submission of the DPWH, the only dredging included is if it's included in a studied, agreed-on master plan. If there are dredging projects in the GAB, different from the submission of the DPWH, that could have been an amendment to the original submission, which they would need to vet. If you want to take out all the dredging, I will agree, so that we can put it to the HFEP, to the DSWD SLP workers who are being, or additional equipment. I agree. Tanggalin natin.
Ito po, 2014, 36 billion. 2015, 49 billion. 2016, 64 billion.
No, saan ba yung...
2017, 80 billion. 2018, 141 billion. And then 2019 NEP, 133 billion. Puro billion ito, Mr. President. Eh kung bumili na tayong dredging, katakot-takot na dredging machine ito.
Lahat na lang ng dredging, ito po ang suhestyon ng DPWH, gawin na lang capital outlay, bumili na lang ng equipment, at kayo ang mag-dredge. Do you have the people to do it?
Special office.
You subcon with the labor, but the machines are yours. So by administration. Eh baka may ano din yun.
No.
Eh baka kurakot din yun.
Job order na lang nila yan.
Yun.
na lang.
If you want to amend the dredging na sinasubcontract, you can just change it to capital outlay to be purchased by government, and then they will do it by administration sa LGU. I'm not sure if it's going to be any better. So, this country. How did you do it in Iloilo, Mr. President?
The regional office
Ang nag-dredge.
hires, would have in their payroll a dredging operator.
But the dredging machines were owned by the LGU,
No, by DPWH.
by the RD, by the regional.
No, by DPWH and assigned to the region.
Okay. So magkaka-labor pa na ano, sige. So,
No,
I
rather
would
than,
welcome-
what is the labor cost compared to the corruption in dredging?
Yes, Mr. President. Okay, Mr. Lacson, Senator Lacson, how much is the dredging you're referring to?
Yung total. Basta tungkol sa flood management, ang total sa 2019 GAB, 111.7 billion pesos.
Okay. If you want,
At 37,500,000 per dredging machine, kindly compute
hindi
how
naman
many
pwedeng
dredging
100
machines you
billion
want.
worth of dredging machines. So, can you submit to us by tomorrow how much worth of dredging machines per region do you need? And we will call it from the dredging budget of more than 100 billion, and then the others, whatever, we can put somewhere. Senator Recto will help me. Hindi naman dredging yun. Oo. So, can we just, himay na lang natin ha? LBRMO.
Can I make a manifestation?
LBRMO and the
Senator Villar.
DPWH work, baka yung 100 billion worth, that's the total flood control. Yung
Total,
dredging lang
total.
ay call natin, and then we convert the dredging to
machine.
capital outlay purchase of equipment as long as they need it sa region, at kung sobra, then we can put it elsewhere.
Senator
So that-
Villar is recognized.
I want to share my experience, Mr. President, when I was Congresswoman. I remember the Department of Public Works gave me a 5 million dredging budget. And it was collected, but I didn't see any dredging. So from then on, I did not accept any dredging budget. What I did was to buy from my allocation 10 backhoe machine, and I asked the local government to operate my backhoe machine because they're the only ones who can give salaries to those operators. And we dredge. Using the backhoe, we started in 2002, and I guess after 10 years, we did very well. But we make use of 10 backhoe machine, which costs us around 1 million pesos each, so a 10 million budget. But I asked the local government to pay for the labor of those who will operate the machine. And we were able to do it because I didn't want to accept any dredging budget anymore because I don't want to be a part of the corruption, okay? Because we won't profit from any dredging budget, so I just didn't accept, so we won't be part of the corruption in government. So I guess when Secretary Mark came into office, I was telling him, better give na lang the local government the machine and ask them to dredge. So that if they fail to dredge, that's their lookout. They didn't really like to help their community. But just give them the machine because that's the most expensive part of the operation, to buy the machine. And then let them do it. If they really love their community, they will do it. If not, then that's their fault. Okay. If they don't want to prevent flooding in their community. So I just want to share my experience. So I guess that's a very good suggestion that if you feel that there is much corruption in dredging, just operate the dredging machine itself. Give it to the local government if they're willing to do it. But give them the machine because some local governments cannot afford to buy the machine.
Mr. President, with the permission of Senator Lacson.
Senator Zubiri.
Yeah, with the permission, just to add to that, I agree with all our colleagues here. Malaking racket talagang dredging. It's really one way of making a lot of money for these contractors who win these projects. But not all of the flood control projects are dredging. There's some that are diking. For example, in Cagayan de Oro, my regional director is here. You know, we were hit with Sendong, with 1,400 people died in Cagayan de Oro. So there was a project, for example, and I'm also lobbying for this project, is that there's a project done by JICA. I think it was funded by JICA sa Cagayan de Oro. Huh? Basta foreign funded yata yung dike, di ba? Hindi natapos. Pero yung usapan sa community, tatapusin hanggang end of the river. Ang nangyari, hindi natapos. Yung mga tao, Ma'am RD is here, the RD Zenny is here, nag-rally sila every day because they think now that the DPWH stole the money because hindi daw natapos yung project. But in actuality, it was a foreign-funded project, help from after Sendong, ay hindi na natapos. But a big portion of that released diking because that river comes from Bukidnon. Fortunately, when we flush our toilets in Bukidnon, we flood Cagayan de Oro. Kasi Bukidnon is high elevation. So hindi lahat dredging. It's also coming up with the canals, coming up with the dikes. So as long as the dikes are built well, hindi yung katulad dun sa Pampanga, ano ba nangyari dun? Yung mga mega dike. Pag lumipad po kayo nun, papunta ng Northern Luzon, makita mo, halos sira-sira na yung mega dike na yan. Mukhang spinay lang yata ng semento yan, hindi naman masyadong inayos yun. With all due respect to those who were probably here building it at that time. But we need to build reliable dikes and reliable canals to make sure that these areas are protected. Pero hindi lahat dredging. But I agree with you, Senator Lacson, yung dredging talagang malaking racket.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. These are very good suggestions and experiences shared. But I'm afraid we may be talking to the wrong audience because dumadami dredging pagdating sa house eh. Hindi na tayo si DPWH. Doon dumadami katakot-takot ng items sa dredging pag dumaan sa GAB. Helpless din naman yung DPWH. So on that note, I'd like to terminate my interpellation. I'd like to thank the distinguished sponsor for her patience as well as yung DPWH family. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Happy birthday, Attorney Doblon. You got your wish. I wish to sincerely thank Senator Lacson for helping me through the budgetary process and would request him to summarize your amendments so that we would know from the 100 billion worth of flood control, ilan lang yung dredging, which we will convert to capital outlay for dredging equipment. And if you want to craft a very explicit special provision, I would be more than willing to incorporate it in the DPWH budget. We will also look into the possibility of scaling down, along with Senator Villar's suggestion, the row budget because of the continuation of a 2018 budget where they still have 7 billion, and so we can take out the 8 billion from the 2019, and that can be used for the other departments that need to be restored as well. So I thank you for enlightening us, for your complete staff work. Very good. We thank you for that. And we will await your amendments before sunset today.
Yeah, Mr. President, just one question.
Yes, the
With the
President.